Well, hey, everybody, this is just a quick kind of report example overview as we start to move into next week when we're going to cover chapter one on our Tuesday night lecture. But I wanted to get a little bit ahead of the game and kind of throw out a little bit of information for you as we get into the writing assignment next week. Now, remember, I told you that the assignment is going to be it's a really small assignment, okay? And again, we're talking next week. Make sure you finish things for this week. But just to kind of give you a quick look, there are things that you may have to kind of add in. So when you write a report, okay, and again, we'll talk about this at the Tuesday night lecture, but this assignment is a short report based on a video. So you are going to be the officer or officers in the video. So from the officer's perspective, you write a report using the video as a guide for your investigation. So for example, if the officer is asking a person for ID, etc., you would be stating in your report that you asked the driver, the witness, whoever it was that you were speaking with for their identification, etc. And when you do these reports, I'm going to help you out by giving you some basic headings, okay? If you don't want to use the names, your own names or things like that, I put in some fake driver's license info so you could use the names of these people in your report, but these are just some examples, okay? And here's your video for next week, and you have to watch it on YouTube. It won't automatically play here, so you click there, it'll take you to the video. Now, what this is, it's an incident report. So it's basically a possible vehicle burglary. And you're going to have two police officers and one possible suspect. And a lot of times the call comes out as a suspicious person. Now, I give you the premise of the call here, okay? And you're to write an incident report for documentation. Remember when we talked about in our lecture this past week about knowing the elements of a crime, right? And here is the premise. We believe, or the call is a possible vehicle burglary. So in here, I included the section for burglary. And you can click on that and you can see if the elements are met for the crime when you take a look at what happened in the video, okay? Now, the report forms that you're going to need, we're going to cover this on lecture night. But really, I know I say here crime incident face page, and I'll show you what those are, but I'm more interested just in the narrative page for this particular assignment, okay? So use headings in the narrative. And again, we'll talk about this on Tuesday night to make things easier. You're going to break it up into headings. And I have some basic headings for you, and I'm going to show you an example in just a second, okay? Notification. This is how you may have received the call to include the date, the time, and the location. A heading called arrival. This would be your immediate observations when you arrive on scene. And some officers use details, some use arrival, some use officer's observation. So you can tweak the headings, right? Next would be your victim or your reporting party statement. So the victim statement, this would include a statement from the person that either called or was the victim of the crime. Witness statement, this would be a statement of a witness, if there was one. Your investigation would be, hey, what did you do at the crime scene in order to prove or disprove that a crime had happened, etc. And then finally, a conclusion or disposition, meaning what happened at the end of it. Is there not enough evidence to make an arrest? And we call that case to file. Did you make an arrest? Did you recover some evidence, but you need to forward it to detectives for more information? And these are all just little headings to kind of help you, again, as we move into next week. Now, these discussion points, these aren't to be added to your report. These are just things that we're going to talk about on next Tuesday night's lecture. Was there a crime? What additional questions could be asked by the officer? Is there further investigation required? And what additional actions could the officer have taken? So with all of that kind of in mind, and again, it's going to be super duper simple, right? I'm going to show you what a report looks like. Now, I took some pieces from a student's report from the last time I taught this class. I changed the dates though, but you can kind of see how they put it together. So first would be, and this is a narrative, and the cool part about this narrative template, and this is going to be located in your course Canvas in the forms area, and I'll show you on Tuesday, but you can see how the lines are numbered, and it's for tracking purposes. But here, this student put notification. And again, this is how you receive the call. So your notification could be something like on 1/26/22. You can write out January 26 if you want. A lot of officers will just use the date like this. At 1900 hours, typically law enforcement uses military time. Okay. You don't have to, but typically that is. So, when you think about 1900, if anybody knows what that is, that's 7 p.m. I was dispatched to 169 North Willow Avenue in the city of Menifee regarding a possible vehicle burglary. So this is how you got the call. Dispatch advised me. It could be different if you were driving down the street and somebody ran out in the road and flagged you down. Your notification could be on this date and time while at this location. I was flagged down by a citizen who told me this. And that would be your notification. It could just be an officer observation, but typically notification is a heading, okay? Next would be this student decided to use details. You could use officer observation or even victim statement if you arrive on scene and you contact the victim immediately. But here, let's see what the student says. Upon my arrival, okay, I contacted the reporting party and victim, so this person was both, okay, Miss Meza, with her birth date. And you can see that I think she made a mistake on the birthday there, so I'll change that. Who was standing next to her vehicle, a blue 2008 Chevy Impala with the license plate so-and-so. Okay, and so this you're just putting in some good info. You're putting in, her vehicle because the call is a possible burglary from her vehicle, so we want to describe the vehicle. Here again, Meza told me it's really simple. That she was visiting a friend, and we put the friend, the student put the friend's name in there, and that she arrived at approximately 1700 hours, which is 5 p.m. Because you want to show when the person arrived, parked their car, etc., and then when they came out, they saw that something was missing, and that's the premise of this particular case. So she parked her car in the driveway, proceeded to enter her friend's apartment. At 1830 hours, which is 6:30, she returned to her vehicle and noticed that her black iPod mini touch along with her white iPad earphones were missing from inside her vehicle. So that's basically the details of the case. The student decided to use details. It could be the victim statement, kind of one and the same, right? So you could even put details with a slash in victim statement or just victim statement, right? If there was a witness statement, and in this particular case there wasn't, I just kind of added this in to the student's report so that way you could see if there was a witness statement, you could put it here. If there were two witness statements, you could put them both here. Witness 1 Jones statement, witness 2 Smith statement, okay? Next would be the investigation. Here the student says, I asked Meza if there was any damage to her vehicle, and she said there was not. Why is that important? Well, was there any forced entry into the car? I confirm this. So remember, the person is talking, as the officer. I confirm this by inspecting the exterior of the vehicle, noting no damage. There's no broken glass from a window or marks on the door locks that might indicate forced entry. Here again, the officer, the student, asked Meza if she had the keys to her vehicle, and she said she did. Meza then told me that she may have left the vehicle unlocked. Why is this important? Because we go back to the section of 459 PC of the penal code describing burglary. It talks about unlocked vehicles. Okay, so this may not be a burglary. It may actually just be a theft. So you have to know the section, okay? And then I made a little notation here adding in, okay, Was there other evidence at the scene? So this investigation could have stopped here, but was there a camera, a Ring doorbell camera on the door? Were there any other cameras in the area? Did we find any fingerprints on the car? Was there anything else regarding the crime scene that might be important? If there is, you would put it there, and if not, then fine. If there was a suspect or a suspect description, maybe the Ring doorbell camera caught the suspect description, you could put that under here, suspect statement or information. That could be another heading. If you talk to a suspect, it could go here. It could be suspect interview, but again, there needs to be a suspect. If there's just a suspect description, you could put that here. Another heading would be the property or evidence. So property that was stolen or evidence that you found at the scene. So you have a black iPod Touch Mini. If they know the serial number, you want to put that in there. Okay, if they don't, then you could put serial number unknown. And then finally, what happened to this case? What's the disposition? Well, here there wasn't a lot, and I added again some headings in here, but there really wasn't a lot of information, right? So here the student said case to file pending additional evidence or leads. So we're going to file this case, we're going to take this report, and if we get more information, we'll add an additional supplemental report to it. Okay, but right now it's just going to be case to file, if you will, pending additional leads. Now, I put a little note down here too. For the disposition, again, you're going to state what's happening with the case. You could say forward to detectives for follow-up if there's something to follow up on. If you had, say you found a driver's license on the ground outside of the car, and that could be the suspect's driver's license that maybe they dropped, right? Fumbling through their pockets. You don't know. That could be some follow-up that either you or the detectives could do. If somebody was arrested, your disposition could say something like, suspect Smith was arrested for 459 PC burglary and booked at West Valley Jail. Forward to the district attorney's office for review, meaning reviewing the case and filing of the case. So these are all just little things that I think are important for us to understand. And again, be accurate. I see here the student didn't, quite get the birth date down there. It should have been something a little bit different, but that's okay. You get what it is. And the reason you want to put the person's birth date in there is basically so you can, that's the identifying factor, right? It's, Prisma Mesa DOB so-and-so, you describe the car, etc. And again, this is just one format, but you can see how simple it is. So it's not a report that's going to go a lot of places. There's not a lot of evidence, but you can see headings, notification, how you got the call, details, or officer observations, or you could jump right to victim statement. If you contact the victim right away, it could be victim statement, and then you could put this information in there. Witness statements, if there are any. Your investigation, what did you do to investigate the crime to determine whether there was an actual crime or not, right? And again, don't forget when you look at crime scenes, cameras, Ring doorbells, canvassing the neighborhood, all of these different little things. And we'll talk more about this, but I'm just trying to get you in the habit of headings, right? Suspect information. If you don't have an ID on the suspect, you have a description of the suspect. That could go here. If you have a statement, that could go here. All right. Property and evidence. Property that was stolen or evidence that you recovered and booked. If you would have got a video, you could actually have recorded the video, or if somebody could have emailed you the video or what have you, or if they gave you a picture of the suspect, you'd book that as evidence. And I'll show you where that goes again when we talk on Tuesday night, but this is just the narrative part, right? So there's different parts to the report. And then the disposition, what happened at the end of this particular case. All right, so let me jump back in here. And I wanted you to kind of see that in these areas here, in these modules, because we're going to be going into, again, our first kind of thing. We've gone through week one, right? Or we're finishing up week one right now as I'm doing this video, and we're doing the interview and interrogation. Now, if you go down here, when you go into when we go into the kind of the third week and you see we're going to start moving into chapter 1, you're going to see this forms page. And this is where some of these forms are at. And you're not going to use all these, of course, but I put them in there so you could at least see them. So the template that I'm kind of using right now, okay, would be these down here. So one of the students in a prior class put a couple templates together for you. And these are for the narrative, okay? So I'll click on this one so you can see. So this is a blank narrative, the one I'm using right now, right? So hopefully that kind of makes sense. And you can type right into this narrative. It's a Word doc, and then you can save it. And let me go back to the forms page here again. And what she did also is she gave you a template, same thing, but put some headings in it for you so you wouldn't forget. And you could change the headings, but you have notification, arrival, victim information, victim statement, description of suspect, witness. Again, that's if they have that, if that information is available. If not, you could kind of erase that out of there because it's a Word doc. So your investigation, did you do an area canvas? Was there evidence? What's the dispo? And these are just those discussion questions that we talked about, but they don't have to go in your report. But I wanted you to see all these different templates. So that's a narrative template. Now, I want to show you one more thing before we're done without getting you too confused. As we start to write more reports, you're going to need a narrative, right? You always need the narrative. And here's another narrative template. These are actually pretty good ones. But I wanted to show you what an incident report form looks like. And these you can type into as well. Okay? These are found. And so this is what a crime face page or an incident report face page looks like. And we're going to go over this on Tuesday, but I wanted you to see. And typically it's got 4 pages. And you don't have to fill in every box. You only fill in what's applicable. All right. And we'll go through all these boxes later, but you can see this is location and time information, the offense, meaning what kind of crime was it, the victim's information, right? Because you're going to need to know who the victim is, the suspect information, your name as the officer. If you have additional witnesses or victims, etc., you put them on this additional persons page. Additional offenses, property that was stolen, okay, any vehicles involved in the case, were there drugs involved, etc., and then your evidence report. So this could be evidence that was recovered at the scene, etc. So a lot of information, right, to type in there. But this is typically what a report, an incident report looks like. So you have this set of forms along with a narrative. All right. And we'll get to all of that. I don't want you to panic because not all of these boxes are going to be filled in, but I wanted you to see what an incident report or a crime report looks like. Okay. And what a narrative report looks like. And again, you can go back to we'll go back to that page here. In every single section or every module, you're going to see that there's a forms page. And we'll go down here. And there'll be a forms page. Same thing is inside there. And we're going to use these different forms as we start to progress through the different chapters. So again, really simple report. On our first report, we probably won't be worrying too much about the form with the boxes in it, the crime face page as they call it, or the incident face page, etc. I want to practice on the narrative and I want you to use the different headings. And it's going to be a really super simple video as you will see. Okay. So with that being said, that's going to kind of wrap up our real quick little overview. Remember, this will be when we hit actually chapter 1. Right now, we're still finishing up, right? In our interview and interrogation thing. And I'll send it. If you're watching this, I've obviously sent the link out. But hopefully that helps and doesn't kind of scare you away. And again, we're all going to kind of learn as we go through, and each week we'll start to learn different things as we put these together. So with that being said, I kind of hope that helps, and I'll see you all on next Tuesday night's lecture.